Welcome back to College Press Box. We welcome in Ross LaBenske to the studio tonight. Ross, how are you holding up after that loss against USC?
You know, I'm disappointed, but overall, I was just very impressed with Longhorns' performance, and I think they can really use this to take some great steps going forward.
Yeah, carry that momentum over, but now we're going to shift things to volleyball. The beloved Longhorn-Aggie rivalry continued this past week in College Station. Number 6 ranked Texas volleyball swept Texas A&M in 3 sets. Sophomore Micaiah White posted 13 digs, adding a team-leading 10 kills for her first double-double of the season. Senior libero Kat McCoy led all players defensively with 18 digs, pacing 2 other Longhorns that recorded double-digit digs. Coach Jared Elliott says with a long season ahead, there leaves plenty of work to do, but he urges that he is proud of this team getting into the groove. Texas faces UTSA on the road tomorrow.
The Texas Invitational was held this past Thursday up in Round Rock, and both the men's and women's teams dominated the competition. Destiny Collins got her second win in as many races as she cruised to a victory in the 4K, coming in at an impressive 13 minutes and 42 seconds. The women's cross-country team placed first with a score of 23 on the 4K, with in-state rival Texas Tech coming in second with 56 points. The men's team had an even more impressive win, beating the second-place Raiders 15-50 in the 6K. Thanks to 3 Longhorns crossing the finish line at once. Both teams hope to carry their momentum when they head to South Bend for the Joe Payan Notre Dame Invitational on September 29th.
Okay, we are talking women's golf here, and we're taking the talk all the way to France. Senior golfer Sophia Schubert concluded play at the Evian Championship, one of 5 LPGA majors, and Schubert finished 4 over par in a 3-round total of 217. The 2-time All-Big 12 tournament team member was one of 220 female golfers in the world that qualified for this tournament. This weekend, Texas competes in the Schooner Invitational in Norman, Oklahoma.
And now it's time for the men. The men's golf team traveled to Illinois last weekend to play in the OFCC Fighting Illini Invitational, and 3 Longhorns placed in the top 30. Senior Scotty Scheffler tied for 23rd, shooting 1 under on the final day. Junior Steven Cervoni shot 74, finishing 7 under, tied for 28th. And freshman Christopher Wrighton shot a 75 with 12 pars to tie for 30th. The Longhorns finished number 8 in the competition, but this is a step in the right direction, yet a motivational lesson for the rest of the season. Men's golf returns to action this weekend when they travel to Dallas for the Trinity Forest Golf Competition beginning on Sunday.
And on to men's tennis. The start of the season kicked off nicely for the Horns. Texas juniors Colin Marks and Adrian Ortiz won the last 5 games of their doubles championship match, claiming the men's double title on Sunday at the Racket Club College Invitational. Head coach Michael Sanders says after being down at the break, the effort made by these guys is surely one to be proud of. Texas heads to the University of Louisiana at Lafayette to compete in the Cajun Tennis Classic.
Now we move on to the women's soccer team, who has had a hot start, to say the least. Our very own Eric Goodman was there to cover the game this past weekend to cover the Longhorns as they hosted UT Rio Grande Valley last Friday night.
Texas women's soccer is doing something that hasn't happened all that much around the 40 acres lately. They're winning, and winning consistently. On Friday night, other members of the Longhorn family were paying close attention as Angela Kelly's squad took on UT Rio Grande Valley, looking to keep up their perfect record to start the season. But UTRGV bunkered down in front of their goal from the very start, fighting off chance after chance after chance for the Longhorns, pushing Texas into overtime for the 2nd straight game. And just like in the first, it was a walk-off win at home for the Horns, this one coming off the left foot of superstar sophomore Sierra Hinson.
Go Texas!
I think I've definitely improved on combining with other players to get in the box, and I think that's what helps me the most to get more goals this season.
An overtime win at home to a mid-major school isn't much of an impressive result in its own right, but tonight's win against the Vaqueros does seal a very impressive 8-for-8 start to the season for Kelly's Longhorns.
It's fantastic for our players, and every single test that we've given this squad, they've rose to the occasion, and I couldn't be happier for them.
The past few games, it's been that way where we work, and it just comes to the very end. So we just work and practice just to not stop, and we know that if we just keep going, that's going to happen no matter what.
The Longhorns' winning ways have them ranked in the AP Top 25. But what happened in the non-conference season now goes out the window as the Big 12 season kicks into gear.
Now the real season begins. It's conference play. It's what we're here for. As a competitor, that really excites me, and I'm going to make sure that our squad is more excited than I am.
Texas begins their Big 12 season next Friday night at home against the Iowa State Cyclones. From Meyer Stadium, I'm Eric Goodman, College Press Box.
And we welcome in tonight our soccer analyst, Eric Goodman. Eric, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, Katerina, and you guys know anytime we're talking the beautiful game on College Press Box, I am a happy man.
All right, that's good to say the least. Now, Texas remains only one of two teams to have an unblemished record in NCAA soccer. Now, Eric, I have to ask you, what makes this Texas team different than years past?
This is actually a very different team, at least from a viewing perspective, than they have been back in just the last 2 years under Angela Kelly. Same coach. What Kelly has added with this team this year is actual skill and talent on the ball. Texas used to be a team that would try to overpower you with really physical, with a lot of physicality, especially in the box, the offensive end. They would try to get a cross in and then cause havoc with the defenders, try to be, honestly try to bully them around and then wind up with a head or a foot by chance and end up with a goal that way. And that has changed this year, mostly with the play of Sierra Hinson and Haley Berg, two forwards. Hinson even has had caps with Team USA, the U19s, and anytime you're playing for the Stars and Stripes in women's soccer, you know you are the real deal. And I want to actually illustrate exactly how this team is playing now by looking back at the goal from Friday night against UTRGV. All right, guess we'll come back to that later. But anyway.
Yeah, so Eric, now we know that the Horns have an 8-0 start for the first time in program history. Eric, how long do you actually think the Horns can realistically keep this one up?
So Texas' season, obviously 8-0, no matter who you're playing, that's a successful season because in soccer especially, anything can happen on the day. You can lose to anybody. And Texas has had really good wins against Colorado as a top 25 team. When they played them here at home, beat them convincingly 3-0 with three very, very nice goals and stout defending. But they had a game rained out. It was, I believe, during the Hurricane Harvey when that just brushed up on Austin. It rained out a game they played against Cal, which would have been a really great litmus test. Cal, another top 25 team. The test really for these Longhorns, and the streak will be in jeopardy really come the end of the week on Sunday. They play West Virginia. They host West Virginia. They'll have the home field advantage, but the Mountaineers are one of the top teams in the country. They're rated number 6 right now. They've beaten, at the time, number 1 Penn State. Their only 2 losses on the year, also to top 10 teams. And I'm not saying Texas is by any means out of this. They have the talent, like we just mentioned with Sierra Hinson. So it's really, I expect a shootout. I expect the Horns to be stout defensively, but we'll see what the Mountaineers will bring as far as their challenge on Sunday night.
Absolutely. This is going to be a big test for the Horns this past weekend. Eric, thanks for coming on tonight. I really appreciate your analysis.
Anytime. Pick it up next week.
All right. Now, Texas is going to play Iowa State on Friday, and when we come back, Steve Helwick is going to give you a recap on another exciting weekend of college football.
A chaotic week 3 of college football is in the books. 6 ranked teams fell on Saturday and just 37 undefeated teams remain. Among them is Clemson, who stormed into Louisville and dominated the reigning Heisman Trophy winner Lamar Jackson and his Cardinals. The 47-21 game certainly did not live up to the hype, but one of Saturday's early contests was a high-scoring thriller from start to finish. Let's cut to the Liberty Bowl for the highlights between Memphis and UCLA. Early going quarterback Riley Ferguson on the screen hits his running back Patrick Taylor, and Taylor maneuvers through that UCLA defense, drawing a few good blocks upfield. He just trots right into the end zone, cutting it to 17-13 as Memphis would miss the extra point. Mike Norvell's screen play calling would continue, and Ferguson would dump this one off to his running back Tony Pollard. Pollard tightropes on the sideline, probably got a future in that tightrope walking career, and then just dives into the end zone, giving Memphis the lead at home. But as we saw in that Texas A&M UCLA game earlier this year, never count out Josh Rosen and the Bruins. Rosen here delivers a beautiful bomb to Darren Andrews, his wide receiver, who's a few steps ahead of that Memphis defense. UCLA cuts it back to 34-31. Rosen again will try with his comeback effort here, and he will take the snap around the Tigers midfield, and this time he'll weave through, but there aren't any open defenders downfield, so while he's scrambling, instead he decides to throw across his body, and Memphis's inside linebacker Tim Hart intercepts it, and he rumbles, bumbles, and stumbles, making his way to the house and giving that Tigers that double-digit lead at home. And the fans can rally around that. Here the Tigers are down, but Riley Ferguson throws a 6th touchdown pass of the day to his wide receiver Phil Mayhew. Ferguson would have 398 yards, and Memphis would go up 48-45. And Josh Rosen in the red zone would throw an interception, and Memphis's Terrell Carter is just waiting for it there on the safety blitz by Memphis, and Carter brings it back. Memphis would win this game 48-45 after another stop when UCLA tried driving downfield. That was the game of the week we had, but there is also a play of the week, a certain Hail Mary that happened at the Swamp. Let's see what happened in Gainesville this weekend. A final play, 20-20, quarterback Felipe Franks searching around and just slings it with all his strength in his arm, and wide receiver Tyree Cleveland beats the Tennessee defense into the end zone, wide open. How did that happen there? Let's take a look at it again after all the Florida players storm on top of Cleveland. You can see that the Tennessee defense was all in disarray throughout the field, and instead of having deep coverage, they let Cleveland beat him down the field. And for once in football, Cleveland actually wins. And the Florida Gators go on top of their bitter rivals, Tennessee, 26-20. In a week where 6 ranked teams lost, we were bound to have some eye-opening upsets. The San Diego State Aztecs have established themselves as this year's Pac-12 slayers. In the past 2 weeks, the Aztecs have defeated both Arizona State and a ranked perennial powerhouse program in Stanford, in a game where the stadium lights blacked out. After losing college football's all-time leading rusher Donnell Pumphrey to the graduation, returning running back Rashad Penny has stepped up in the early going, leading San Diego State to a 3-0 record and leading the FBS in rushing yards with 588. Moving over to the Midwest, the Northern Illinois Huskies stormed into Lincoln and stole a victory from the Nebraska Cornhuskers. The NIU defense was relentless and returned 2 pick-sixes to the house to beat the Huskers 21-17. Northern Illinois is now the first MAC team, current or former member, to down Nebraska. There's an exciting slate of games to follow up this memorable Week 3 and Week 4. TCU and Oklahoma State will battle in a high-powered offensive duel in Stillwater. Mississippi State and their Cowbells take on Georgia in a battle of SEC undefeateds. And finally, Washington and Colorado rematch for the first time since the 2016 Pac-12 championship game. But one team that does not play next week is the Texas Longhorns. But don't worry, after the break, Kat will take us through the other Longhorn sporting events that transpire this week. You won't want to miss it.
For a final time tonight, we welcome you back to College Press Box. Let's take a look what's going around the 40 acres this week. Texas women's volleyball is going to face UTSA on the road at 7 p.m. on Tuesday. And men's and women's tennis are going to be traveling around all weekend and during the week. And on Friday, a big match for women's soccer versus Iowa State. They open Big 12 play. You're going to catch that on the Longhorn Network. And Saturday, women's volleyball at West Virginia at noon. And on Sunday, head out to Mike A. Myers to see women's soccer take on West Virginia at 1 p.m. on LHN. Now, guys, we all have things that help with our anxiety. You know, some people hold a stuffed animal and others chew gum. Tom Herman was seen at the Texas versus USC game chewing a bunch of bubble gum. And today at his press conference, he was asked about it. Let's hear what he has to say.
I couldn't make it out there on Saturday, so I had to watch it on TV, but a lot of cutaways of you on the sideline and your gum. You're blowing bubbles, it's splatting on your face, you're chewing it like a champ. How many pieces of gum do you have in your mouth? What kind of gum is it? You rotating it often? And thanks, Coach.
You are by far my favorite, man. It is sugar-free double bubble. It is the individually.
That gum company should look into sponsoring Tom Herman, but maybe we'll have to wait and see about that. Now, folks, that's all the time we have here on College Press Box. Make sure to keep up with us on social media at TSTV Sports. Our show airs every Monday at 9:30, but don't forget about Wednesdays at 9 p.m. where we dive into some sports debate on College Crossfire, hosted by our very own Mark Skoll Jr. We want to thank everyone who takes part in making this show possible, and a special thanks to all of you who are tuning in to us. Now, until next time, I'm Katerina Biancardi. Have a wonderful night.